The day I found a diamond bracelet that wasn't mine in my husband's car, I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I didn't confront him. I put it back exactly where I found it, closed the glove compartment, and smiled. Because I knew something he didn't. I knew that this one mistake would cost him everything. My name is Bianca Salas. And this is the story of how a piece of jewelry became the thread that unraveled my husband's entire web of lies, and how I went from betrayed wife to CEO in 6 months. But let's start at the beginning. The moment everything changed, but I pretended nothing had. It was a Tuesday morning. Regular. Boring. I was looking for my sunglasses because the sun was brutal, and I had a meeting across town. My car was in the shop, so I took Rodrigo's Mercedes. We'd been married for 7 years. Shared everything. Or so I thought. I opened the glove compartment looking for those sunglasses, and there it was. A small black velvet box. The expensive kind. The kind that holds something significant. My heart didn't even skip. It went straight to my stomach. Because our anniversary had passed 3 months ago. My birthday was 6 months away. There was no occasion. No reason for a hidden jewelry box in my husband's car unless it wasn't for me. I opened it with steady hands. And there, sitting on white satin, was the most beautiful diamond tennis bracelet I'd ever seen. Cartier. Had to be at least $15,000. The card inside read, "For unforgettable moments. Always yours." Not in Rodrigo's handwriting. Feminine. Delicate. Signed with a lipstick kiss mark and a single letter. V. I stared at it for exactly 30 seconds. Let the reality wash over me. My husband was having an affair. Had been having an affair long enough that his mistress was buying him expensive gifts. Or he was buying them for her, and she was thanking him. Either way, the marriage I thought was solid had cracks I'd been too blind or too busy to see. But here's where I surprised myself. I didn't fall apart. Didn't call him screaming. Didn't throw the bracelet out the window or show up at his office demanding explanations. Instead, I took a photo of the bracelet, the box, and the card. Closed everything exactly as I found it. Put it back in the glove compartment. And drove to my meeting like nothing happened. Because somewhere between opening that box and closing it, something crystallized in my mind. If I confronted him now, he'd lie. He'd gaslight me. Tell me it was for me, surprise gift, wrong card, anything to cover his tracks. And I'd be left with accusations and denials and no real power. But if I stayed quiet, if I gathered evidence, if I played the loving, oblivious wife while documenting every lie, then I'd have power. Real power. The kind that doesn't just end a marriage. The kind that destroys the liar completely. So that's exactly what I did. I went home that evening and Rodrigo was already there, loosening his tie, asking about my day like he always did. I kissed his cheek. Told him about my meeting. Asked about his day. Made dinner. We ate together. Watched TV. Went to bed. I played the role perfectly. And he had absolutely no idea that I knew. The next morning, I did something I'd never done before. I hired a private investigator. Found the best one in the city. A woman named Carla Santos who specialized in infidelity cases. I met her at a cafe far from my neighborhood, showed her the photo of the bracelet, and told her everything. I need to know who she is, I said calmly. I need to know how long this has been going on. I need photos, videos, messages if possible. Everything. And I need it documented properly. Legal. Admissible. Carla looked at me with something like respect. Most women come to me crying. You're different. I'll cry later, I told her. Right now, I need ammunition. She smiled. I like you. Give me 2 weeks. While Carla worked, I started my own investigation. Not into the affair. Into something that had been nagging at me for months. Rodrigo worked for my family's company.
Salle Industrie.
My father had built it from nothing, and when he retired 5 years ago, he'd made me and Rodrigo co-directors. I handled operations and client relations. Rodrigo handled finances and investments. Lately, the numbers hadn't been adding up. Nothing huge. Nothing obvious. But small discrepancies. Money moving in ways that didn't quite make sense. I'd mentioned it to Rodrigo multiple times, and he'd always had explanations. Market fluctuations, delayed payments, accounting errors. And I'd believed him because why wouldn't I? He was my husband, my partner, my father's trusted son-in-law.
But now?
Now I wondered what else he'd been lying about. I started going through company files, staying late at the office, cross-referencing accounts, checking invoices against actual deliveries. And slowly, painfully, a pattern emerged. Money was disappearing.
Not huge amounts.
But consistent. 5,000 here, 10,000 there. Over the past 3 years, nearly $500,000 had been quietly siphoned from company accounts into places I couldn't immediately trace. My hands shook as I printed evidence. Rodrigo wasn't just cheating on me. He was stealing from my family. From the company my father built with his bare hands. From the legacy that was supposed to be mine. I wanted to scream, wanted to cry, wanted to walk into his office and destroy him right there. But I didn't, because I was building a case. And cases require patience. 2 weeks later, Carla called. You need to see this. Come to my office. I went, and she laid out everything on her desk like a crime scene. Photos of Rodrigo with a woman.
Valentina Costa.
26 years old. Works as a marketing consultant. They'd been seeing each other for 18 months. Meeting at hotels. Weekend trips he'd told me were business conferences. Dinners at expensive restaurants across town where no one we knew would see them. The photos were explicit. Not just holding hands.
Kissing.
Touching. Looking at each other the way he used to look at me 7 years ago. But the worst part, the absolute worst part, in one photo, she was wearing that bracelet. My bracelet. The one I'd found in his car. He'd given it to her. Probably with my family's stolen money. There's more, Carla said quietly. She handed me a financial report. I did some digging like you asked. Your husband has been transferring money to an offshore account. Small amounts like you suspected. But it adds up.
He's been planning something.
Maybe leaving. Maybe building a nest egg with her. Either way, he's been systematically stealing from her company for years. I sat there looking at all of it. The affair. The theft. The betrayal layered on betrayal. And I felt something inside me turn to ice. Not sadness. Not even anger. Just cold, calculated determination. I need everything documented, I told Carla. Legally. I need dates, times, amounts. I need a paper trail that could hold up in court.
Can you do that?
Already done, she said, handing me a USB drive. Everything's here. Photos. Financial records.
Timeline.
Even some audio recordings from the hotel meetings. One of the staff owed me a favor. I took the drive. Thank you. Send me your final invoice. And Carla? This conversation never happened. She nodded. What conversation? I went home, put the USB drive in my safe, and continued playing the perfect wife. Smiling. Cooking. Asking about his day. Sleeping next to him every night, knowing exactly what he was. It was the hardest performance of my life. But I was committed to seeing it through. Because I wasn't just planning to leave him. I was planning to destroy him. I contacted the family lawyer.
Marcos Ferreira.
He'd handled my father's business for 30 years. I trusted him completely. I met him at his office, showed him everything Carla had gathered, and laid out what I discovered about the company finances. Marcus went pale. Bianca, this is serious. This isn't just grounds for divorce. This is embezzlement.
Fraud.
He could face criminal charges. I know, I said calmly. I want you to prepare divorce papers. I want a forensic accountant to go through every transaction. I want criminal charges filed. And I want it all to happen simultaneously. He shouldn't see it coming until it's too late to run. Marcus leaned back in his chair. Your father would be devastated to know this happened. Which is why we're going to fix it before he finds out the extent of the damage, I said. Can you handle this quietly? Quickly? Give me 3 weeks, Marcus said. I'll have everything ready. But Bianca, once we start this, there's no going back. Are you sure? I thought about the bracelet. About Valentina wearing my stolen jewelry bought with my family's stolen money. About Rodrigo kissing her with the same mouth that kissed me goodnight. About 18 months of lies. About 3 years of theft. About 7 years of a marriage that had been rotting from the inside while I tended the garden outside. I've never been more sure of anything in my life, I told him. Those 3 weeks were agony. Pretending everything was normal while building a bomb. But I used the time strategically. I documented everything at the company, made copies of every suspicious transaction, built a timeline, prepared myself for what was coming. And then, something unexpected happened that accelerated my entire plan. The company's annual board meeting was scheduled. Standard procedure. We'd review financials, discuss projections, make strategic decisions. My father would attend as chairman emeritus. Board members. Key investors. It was important. Professional. The kind of meeting that set the tone for the entire year. 3 days before the meeting, Rodrigo came home agitated. Nervous. I could see it in the way he paced. The way he poured his whiskey with shaking hands. What's wrong? I asked, plain concerned. He ran his hand through his hair. It's the company. The audit for the board meeting. There are some discrepancies they're going to ask about. My blood froze. What kind of discrepancies? Financial ones, he said carefully. Some transfers that might look questionable. But it's not what it looks like, Bianca. I can explain everything. I sat down slowly. What did you do, Rodrigo? And then he said something that made me realize just how far gone he was. How desperate. How willing to sacrifice anything to save himself. I didn't do anything, he said, looking directly at me. But if the board asks questions, I'm going to have to tell them that you approved those transfers. That you were aware of everything. We're co-directors. They'll believe it was a joint decision. The room tilted. You're going to blame me? For something you did. It's not blame, he said quickly. It's protection. For both of us. We're married. We're a team. If we both take responsibility, the consequences are smaller. But if only one of us takes the fall, it's going to be bad. Really bad. I'm trying to protect you here. I stared at him. This man I'd loved. This man I'd trusted with everything. And I realized he wasn't just willing to let me take the fall. He was actively planning it. Probably had been for months. I was never his wife. I was his scapegoat. Okay, I said quietly. If that's what we need to do, we'll handle it together. He looked relieved. Actually relieved. Thank you, Bianca. I knew you'd understand. We're going to be fine. I promise. I went to bed that night lying next to a monster. And I didn't sleep. Because I knew exactly what I had to do. The next morning, I called Marcus. Change of plans. The board meeting in 3 days. That's when we do this. Everything. All at once. That's very public, Bianca. Very risky. He's planning to blame me, I said. He's going to stand in front of my father, the board, everyone who matters, and accuse me of embezzling from my own family's company. So yes, it's going to be public. Because I want everyone to see exactly who Rodrigo Silva really is. Understood, Marcus said. I'll have everything ready. The board meeting arrived. I dressed carefully. Professional. Powerful. Navy suit. Hair pulled back. Minimal jewelry except for one thing. I wore the diamond bracelet. The one from Rodrigo's glove compartment. The one meant for Valentina. I wore it like armor. The conference room filled with board members. My father sat at the head of the table, retired but still respected. Rodrigo sat across from me, looking confident, prepared, ready to execute his plan. He had no idea what was coming. The meeting began normally. Reports. Projections. Everything routine. Then we got to financials. The CFO presented the audit. And sure enough, he highlighted the discrepancies. The transfers that didn't add up. The missing money. We need clarification, the CFO said, looking between me and Rodrigo. These transactions were authorized by the co-directors. Can you explain their purpose? Rodrigo cleared his throat, looked at me with fake sympathy, and then delivered his prepared lie. I think Bianca should address this. She handled most of these transfers. I only recently became aware of the full extent. The room went quiet. My father's eyes widened. Board members shifted uncomfortably. This was it. The moment Rodrigo thought he'd won. The moment he'd throw me under the bus to save himself. I smiled. Actually smiled. That's interesting, Rodrigo. Because I have a completely different recollection. I opened my laptop. Connected it to the projector. I'd like to present some evidence, if I may. Rodrigo's face went pale. Bianca, what are you doing? The truth, I said simply. And I pressed play. The screen filled with images. Financial records showing Rodrigo's name on every fraudulent transfer. Email chains where he authorized moving money to offshore accounts. Bank statements showing deposits into his personal account that matched the missing amounts.
Dates. Times. Proof.
This is 3 years of systematic embezzlement, I said calmly. Rodrigo Silva has been stealing from this company. From my family.
From all of you.
Approximately $480,000. The room erupted. Board members shouting questions. My father standing up, face red with rage. Rodrigo trying to speak, to explain, but no words coming out. But wait, I said, voice cutting through the chaos. There's more. I switched to the next slide. Photos. Rodrigo and Valentina. At hotels, restaurants. His hand on her waist. Her wearing the bracelet. Timestamps showing they overlapped with business trips he'd claimed to take. My husband has been having an affair for 18 months, I continued. With Valentina Costa. He's been using company money to finance their relationship. Hotels.
Gifts.
Trips. All paid for with funds stolen from this company. I held up my wrist, showing the bracelet. This bracelet? Found it in his car.
$15,000. Cartier.
Bought with your money. My money. My father's money. Given to his mistress. My father's voice was quiet.
Deadly. Rodrigo.
Is this true? Rodrigo was sweating. Shaking. I can explain. It's not. She's twisting things.
Am I?
I pulled out another document. This is a report from a forensic accountant. Hired 3 weeks ago. Every transaction traced. Every lie documented. And this, I held up another paper, is a criminal complaint filed with the police.
Fraud.
Embezzlement.
Theft.
You're not just losing your job today, Rodrigo. You're losing everything. Marcus stood up from the back of the room. The divorce papers were filed this morning. Mrs. Salas is suing for full asset division, citing infidelity and financial malfeasance. And the district attorney has already issued a warrant. Officers are waiting outside to take Mr. Silva into custody. Rodrigo stood up, so fast his chair fell backward. You can't do this. Bianca, please. We can work this out. I made mistakes, but we can fix this. I looked at him, really looked at him, and felt absolutely nothing. You are going to blame me, stand in front of my father and these people and accuse me of your crimes. You are going to destroy my reputation to save yours. So no, Rodrigo, we can't work this out. Because there is no we. There never really was. Security opened the doors. 2 police officers walked in. Read Rodrigo his rights. Handcuffed him while the entire board watched. While my father watched with tears of rage in his eyes. While Rodrigo begged and pleaded and promised things he could never deliver. As they let him out, I called after him. Oh, and Rodrigo? I'm keeping the bracelet. As a reminder of the day, I stopped being a fool. The room stayed silent for a long moment after he was gone. Then my father spoke.
Bianca.
Why didn't you tell me sooner? Because I needed to handle it properly, I said. I needed evidence. Legal protection. A strategy. If I'd come to you emotional and unprepared, he might have talked his way out. This way, there's no escape. My father nodded slowly. You've proven something today. Not just that you can handle crisis, but that you're ready to lead this company. He looked at the board. I propose an emergency vote. Bianca Salas as sole CEO of Salas Industries. Effective immediately. The vote was unanimous. The next few months were chaos. Rodrigo's trial was public and brutal. The evidence was overwhelming. He was convicted of embezzlement and fraud, sentenced to 6 years in prison. Valentina lost her job when her clients found out about the affair. Her reputation destroyed. She wasn't charged with anything, but her association with Rodrigo ruined her professionally. The company recovered. I implemented new financial controls, restructured departments, recovered most of the stolen money through asset seizure. Under my leadership, we had our best quarter in 5 years. The divorce was finalized. I got everything.
The house.
The cars. His retirement fund. Everything he'd worked for, or pretended to work for, went to me. Because the prenup we'd signed had a morality clause. Infidelity and criminal activity voided his rights to marital assets. He left prison eventually. Broken. Jobless. Reputation destroyed. Living in a small apartment working minimum wage because no one in our industry would touch him. I didn't feel bad. Not even a little. Because here's what I learned from that diamond bracelet. From that moment in the car, when I found evidence of betrayal and chose strategy over emotion, I learned that patience is power. That evidence beats accusations. That sometimes the best revenge isn't shouting the truth. It's waiting until you can prove it undeniably. 6 months after becoming CEO, I was featured in a business magazine. The Woman Who Rebuilt an Empire. They asked about the scandal, about how I'd handled discovering my husband's crimes. I told them the truth. He thought he was smarter than me, thought I'd never notice the missing money, never question his lies, never fight back. And his biggest mistake? He underestimated my willingness to wait for the perfect moment to strike. The interviewer asked if I'd ever trust anyone again, if the betrayal had closed my heart. I looked down at my wrist, at the diamond bracelet I wore every single day. My reminder, my trophy, my proof that I'd survived and conquered. I'll trust again, I said. But I'll also verify. And I'll never forget that the people closest to you can hurt you the most. So I choose carefully now. I protect myself first. And I never, ever let anyone make me the villain in their story when I'm actually the hero in my own. That interview went viral. Women reached out from everywhere, sharing their stories, asking for advice, telling me I inspired them to stop accepting less than they deserved. And I realized something. Rodrigo stealing from the company. Rodrigo cheating with Valentina. Rodrigo trying to blame me. All of it was terrible, devastating, life-altering. But it was also the catalyst that transformed me from a wife who trusted too easily into a CEO who trusted strategically. From a woman who would have forgiven him into a woman who made sure he'd never hurt anyone else again. My name is Bianca Salas. I'm the woman who found a diamond bracelet and followed it to the truth. Who gathered evidence instead of screaming accusations. Who let her husband dig his own grave while she prepared his eulogy. And who turned betrayal into a boardroom victory. Some people thought I was cold, calculated, too methodical in my revenge. But here's what they didn't understand. I wasn't cold. I was smart. I wasn't calculated. I was careful. And I wasn't getting revenge. I was getting justice. There's a difference. Revenge is emotional, messy, satisfying in the moment, but empty afterward. Justice? Justice is systematic, legal.
Permanent.
Justice means you don't just win. You make sure they can never play the game again. And that bracelet? I still wear it. Every board meeting. Every major decision. Every moment when I need to remember who I am and what I survived. People ask if it bothers me. Wearing jewelry tied to such a painful memory. But it doesn't. Because it's not a symbol of his betrayal anymore. It's a symbol of my victory. Every diamond catches the light and reminds me that I chose power over pain, strategy over emotion, my future over his lies. And honestly, that's the most expensive lesson I ever paid for. But it was worth every penny he stole, because I got it all back. Plus interest, plus his career, plus his freedom. Some might call that cruel. I call it fair. Because the real plot twist in this story isn't that my husband cheated and stole from me. It's that he thought he could get away with it. Thought he could frame me. Thought I was too weak, too trusting, too in love to fight back. He was wrong about all of it. And now he has 6 years in prison to think about his mistakes. While I have a company to run, a legacy to build, and a diamond bracelet to remind me every single day that the best revenge isn't just winning. It's making sure they know exactly how badly they lost. My name is Bianca Salas, and this is how a piece of jewelry became my weapon, my shield, and my crown.